everybody, this is Under the Arc Sports. I'm Eric, and today we are going to recap Missouri's thrilling walk-off win against the Arkansas Razoirbacks. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook and on Instagram. So, Missouri and Arkansas this game had everything. You know, it was Barry Odom's homecoming, Coach Elia Drinkwitz and Arkansas coach Sam Pittman possibly going head-to-head to see who gets SEC Coach of the Year. The Battle Line Rivalry. It had offense. It had a comeback. It had walk-off, game-winning field goal. It had everything. Now, if you're going to look at specifics, you have to talk about Larry Roundtree and Tyler Beatty. Roundtree was outstanding with 27 carries for 185 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaging 6.9 per carry. Tyler Beatty had probably the single best run of the day. He had 6 carries for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. All that is before you look at Connor Bazelak, who went 32 for 49 for 380 yards, which is that's outstanding. You got to talk about for the Missouri receivers. Kiki Chisholm and Damon Hazelton both finally showed us what everyone was expecting to see at the beginning of the year. Kiki Chisholm easily had his best game. 6 catches, 113 yards, a couple of very nice grabs. Damon Hazelton had 5 catches and 98 yards, and he was particularly important later in the game. Now, it was interesting to see how the offense did whatever it wanted, and for me, I really enjoyed seeing a lot of misdirection and timing type plays that got Arkansas defenders going the wrong way. It's stuff that seems so simple. Motion one guy the other way and fake a jet sweep and then run the other way. It's so simple, but it gets linebackers' eyes looking the wrong way, and by the time they realize what's going on, they're a half step late, and that's the difference. So that was very interesting to watch out of Missouri because it worked great on Saturday. As for the defense, it was not so great. The Arkansas Razorbacks did almost anything they wanted. Part of this was due to Nick Bolton and the targeting call, but the defense was just getting gashed all day. As for the targeting call, I think it's a case of the letter of the law making this the correct call, but the letter of the law being stupid. So I think the rule needs to be amended so that if a player is going in with the shoulder and it's not like some malicious use a shoulder to try and knock a guy out, I don't know what Nick Bolton could have done differently. But, here we are. Now, as for the defense entirely, Trelon Smith had about as good a day as Larry Roundtree. 26 carries, 172 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6.6 yards a carry. That's bad. It seemed like the first play of every Arkansas drive for a while was Trelon Smith in between the tackles for 8 to 12 yards. It was very frustrating to watch. Now you look at quarterback position. Felipe Franks, the grad transfer from Florida, he did not play. This was a surprise to everybody, as there was no indication that he was going to miss the game, but he's got a rib issue. KJ Jefferson made the start. He went 18 to 33 for 274 and 3 touchdowns. Not what you want to give up to a backup quarterback. Not what you want to see. Looking at the defense, there were times where Arkansas ran misdirection similar to what Missouri did. In particular, I noticed a couple of times what they would do is KJ Jefferson would fake a pitch out to the right, like Trelon Smith was going to run to the right. He'd fake it out like that, but then hold the ball, and Smith would counter back to the left. And the entire defense for Missouri bit on the fake to the one side, and the opposite side where he was actually going, it was wide open. So that will definitely be something for the Missouri defense to work on. We talked about in our preview video how Arkansas had really taken advantage of opponents turning the ball over. Missouri had no turnovers. Arkansas never had a short field to take advantage of, and that surely had an impact on this game. Penalties, Arkansas had 11, Missouri had 8. Sloppy. A couple were questionable, but there were enough that it was both teams can work on that. Now, I thought, Arkansas built up the 40-26 lead, and at that point, Missouri took 2 plays to get a touchdown to cut it to 40-33. And I think at that point, whoever the play caller is for Arkansas, Kendall Briles, offensive coordinator, I guess, I think he kind of panicked and he almost completely abandoned the running game and put the ball in KJ Jefferson's hand. I remember the first and second down play of the ensuing drive after Missouri got to within 7, they were both passes, which was mind-boggling to me. As much success as Arkansas had had running the football all day, it was crazy to me that they went ahead and did that. It benefited Missouri, really, as they were able to get the ball back pretty quick, went down and tied it, and then we saw the rest from there. As for the final drive, as Arkansas was going down on their final drive of the day, we had a series of events where it looked like Jamal Brooks was going to have the worst day of his football life. On that final drive alone, he dropped an interception. He failed to complete a tackle that would have stopped Arkansas on that 4th and 1 that they ended up converting. And then on the 2-point conversion, he dropped the ball that was right in his hands, and it was deflected in the air, and the Arkansas receiver caught it. Yeah, it looked for a minute like Jamal Brooks had kind of single-handedly blown the game for Missouri. But all this ended up happening, leaving 43 seconds on the clock. And this final drive, led by freshman Connor Bazelak and freshman Harrison Mevis, it was a thing of beauty to watch, really. Missouri started this drive at their own 25-yard line with 43 seconds to go. The first play was a 14-yard out to Damon Hazelton, so they're at the 39-yard line then, with 38 seconds to go. Then Arkansas jumps off sides. Bazelak recognized it, tried for a home run ball. It didn't work, but Missouri got 5 yards up to the 44-yard line. That took 6 seconds off the clock, down to 32. After that, you had a 16-yard completion, followed by a 12-yard completion. So Missouri is at the Arkansas 26-yard line with 22 seconds to go. They took 21 seconds and beautiful timeout management to go half the football field and get well within Harrison Mevis' range. They had enough time to run the football and see if they couldn't catch Arkansas off guard. So that was interesting. But Harrison Mevis, 5 out of 5 on field goals, 5 extra points, 20 points scored on the day is a new Missouri record. And that includes a 51-yard field goal that was his first, and of course, the game winner as time expired. This is a game that had a little bit of everything. It moved Missouri to 5-3 on the season, coming into a Georgia game where they've got a chance to, if they beat Georgia, be second place in the SEC East. And there is nobody on earth that saw that coming. So I mean, you can't help but be impressed by what Coach Elia Drinkwitz and the Missouri Tigers have pulled off this season. David and I will be back later this week to preview that Georgia game, and we will see what we think will happen. We'll hope to see you then. Thanks for watching. But, if you're going to talk about the Missouri offense, you have to talk about Arkansas linebacker Grant Morgan going down late in the game. He hurt his left knee, left the game, didn't come back, and that had to have had a massive impact on the Arkansas defense because Missouri had almost 300 yards of total offense in the fourth quarter. I think Arkansas missed Grant Morgan a lot more than Missouri missed linebacker Nick Bolton, which we'll talk about in a second here.